That looks like my.
Okay, it says we're live again, so you want to check with whoever it was sent the text message to see if we're back up? But it shows to be up, so.
All right.
Looks like we are back up. On to item number 5. Mostly this is just information. This little thing that I gave you is just, we have already closed. This is what we approved at our last meeting about the water bills and the late fees and the extension fees. We're going to put this as a little flyer with the next water bills that go out. And we're gonna put it on color paper, so maybe people will read it. Okay. The next thing is that we did get information from the governor's office about from the public safety office about some grant money that's going to be available. It's federal grant money for the COVID-19 emergency funding for local governments. And we're going to explore that a little bit more. And in conjunction with that, Chief Tucker gave me something from the Department of Justice funding for the same thing. This application deadline is May 29th, and we need to give him the authority to pursue this. It's just a grant to pay for something that we may find that we're paying for because the COVID-19. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't ask him to see if he can get us some free money.
To pay for what?
Well,
Yeah, what would we be using that money for?
Well, it's anything law enforcement related to respond to the COVID-19 funds. It could be anything from police officer overtime, it could be barricades, anything that we need to do with the COVID-19 process. We had to close the city parks, and we needed barricades to barricaded roads, those type of things. I know Henderson County just approved $43,000 for the same thing. It's just for incidentals or anything that we can use when dealing with this COVID-19.
And
It'd
it
be
would go
like-
into an
It'd be like
account
they're,
that,
like,
It's-
to do with like
it
students
would-
and stuff.
It would actually be
Yeah,
to
so-
purchase something, so it wouldn't go into account. It's not a guaranteed amount of money that we would get. We would have to say, here's what we're gonna purchase, and then they would just, they would give us that money to purchase that.
so they're just not gonna give you money and
Correct.
say, hang on to it for,
No.
okay. So you have, the purchases would have to be approved by them.
right.
Well, no, not by them. I mean,
I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, in order to use that money, you've gotta tell them and show them what you're spending.
and what it's used for.
Right.
But it's a non-matching grant, so it's not anything that we have to match or repay, which is, like I said, it's free money.
And you can use it for like PPE and stuff.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
That was one of the
Yeah,
things
there's no
I said.
restrictions as long as it's COVID-19.
Related.
Well, and that's, there's a word for like being proactive. That
Yes,
you-
yes, this is,
That you buy the PPE in case you need it.
Correct.
And technically, a lot of that PPE, like if they buy it just in case they need it and they don't use it, they can also use it for later purposes too.
right, it doesn't, if they bought something, being proactive and they didn't use it, they could still keep it.
No, I understand,
to buy- to
but that's,
use.
I'm just trying to understand.
So do you want to give him the authority to pursue this money?
That's what I'm asking, we need to make a motion.
We need a motion for him to do
Is that on the agenda?
It's under the code.
that. It's under
COVID-19.
COVID-19, and
Oh,
this
okay.
is, this is such a fluid subject at this point in time. we're just gonna do this and do what we have to do.
Perfect.
I make a motion that we give Chief Tucker the authority to get this grant money.
I'll second it.
All in favor? David, are you in favor?
In favor.
It is unanimous. Motion is passed. Okay. Number 6 is the tidy toilets. We have not taken them out of the park. Some of the people who watched last time have approached us and said, what are people gonna do? Are they gonna start going to the bathroom just behind the trees and bushes, and we don't want that to happen. Ma'am?
We need to get rid of those, period, because they are the most unsanitary things during this pandemic. And if I've gotta go clean the bathrooms twice a day, I'll do it. But we need to reopen the bathrooms, and all we gotta do is put soap down there. If we have a fishing tournament down there,
Well, we are going into a period of time when the gatehouse is going to be manned for, during
Right,
the
in May,
day,
starting
so
May.
it will,
I'll clean the bathrooms twice a day if I have to until then. But we've got to, as long as we're allowing people in the park, we need to give them a place to go to the bathroom. But there's nothing you can do to sanitize the tidy toilets. There's nowhere to even wash your hands with just water in those. So those need to go, and we need to open the bathrooms. I think, and if we have tournaments, there can't be more than 10 people in a group down there.
no, that's right.
So they have to be, they need to drop their fish and go sit back in their boat or something, or their car. But you can't have more than 10 people in one place, because we will be fined.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We are,
People are busting it up to get us in trouble, so,
well, we are in contact with the people who are running these tournaments, and they have assured us that when they go for their awards or whatever, that they are keeping their 6-foot distance, and so they're not having people congregating around that area even. They have to keep their distance back. So they have assured us that they are
well,
going to
keeping your
keep that.
distance is different than having no more than 10 in a group.
Well,
That's what
well,
I'm saying.
but they can't, they're not, they are keeping that. They have assured us that that's what they're doing. Okay, any other discussion about this?
I'll need
All
to
right.
speak to the bathrooms so that I'll be able to.
Well, we'll see.
Or are you just gonna
If
let
our
it
guys
go
are
on
gonna-
24
They've
hours?
already cleaned. They've already
They
bleached.
cleaned, well, they cleaned
They've
the
done the
body.
bottom.
Well, if
So they're
they
all
do it
ready to
during the
go.
week, I'll do it.
We have all of that stuff.
Okay, I just think that we really need to keep those bathrooms open.
Do we need to put any kind of a sign on there?
No more than 10 people. Keep your 6-foot distance.
You probably do.
One person
I mean,
in at a time or whatever.
I live pretty close to that place, and I can tell you some stories, but just to rid us of any liability that enter at your own risk or whatever, because somebody can come back and say, well, I caught it and it was because I was doing that bathroom. It's a bathroom.
Up there, they would be hard pressed to prove that they got it from our
I
bathrooms.
understand.
And I will say, I've heard stories, so I understand, but when I used it the last time before we closed them, it was actually pretty clean. They need to be disinfected anyways because of this, but it was actually pretty clean. So the only thing we were required to put in there is hand soap, and there wasn't any. So, that was the only thing I can say is we have to get that in there. Whether we put bottles in there while we're ordering the dispenser or whatever we need to do, we need to get hand soap.
You need I think you need to put a dispenser in there because somebody's gonna take that hand.
I agree.
They do.
But until they get in, we need to have some kind, I don't think we need to put a sign up. I think that we're okay.
Okay.
Because everybody is taking their risk at Walmart, Brookshire's, everywhere else. And, you know, we can put a big bowl of hand sanitizer as well. You know, or we can get the dispenser.
They'll take it.
I was like, we can
And,
get the
and it's
dispenser.
closed every night at a certain time.
Well, the park does, but the boat ramp is still 24/7.
No, the park doesn't close.
But I'm just saying, I'm not okay with it staying open all the time.
Well, they do because the boaters, the fishermen come in at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So they have left it open to do that. I mean, we can close it at a certain time if you want to reopen it. You know, I get up at 5 in the morning, so we can do that, but we have left it open before, so that's how it was before, correct?
We have left it open overnight. We did that all last summer.
Any vandalism? No, okay.
Do we know how much we pay a month for those?
150.
There you go, too, so, you know.
Just saying. I'll second that motion.
If we can find hand sanitizer.
Well, I guess, but we need
I
to
get what
get
you're
the
saying.
dispensers in there.
Yes.
And get the dispensers.
Have you already got them ordered or no?
No, but I didn't order them because we shut the bathrooms down last
Okay.
meeting.
But it doesn't take us long to get some.
It's the availability of the material possibly, but we'll do it as quickly as we can.
Okay.
And we'll put regular soap in there.
They-
Little containers.
They don't still them out on the Red Barn. I'm hoping that people will be smart enough not to at least be considerate right now during this pandemic.
We have teenagers coming.
That's not-
So, okay, we have
I
a motion
do.
on the floor. All in favor? David, are you in favor?
Favor?
Okay. We will get rid of the tidy toilets and open up the bathroom. Number 7 is the update of the repairs and renovations for the wastewater treatment plant. Wastewater plant repairs will be completed tomorrow, 4/17. The airlines will be jetted the first part of next week, which will conclude all of the wastewater plant rehab.
And that's before, we had a deadline of what, April 30th?
So we are well ahead of that. The next step will be to have TCEQ inspector come out and see what we've done, make sure that we've done that all up, and then he has to write up a report. So that's all in there. Any other questions about that? The water part of that is that for each of the wells, they had to order meters, special meters. When they sent them, they sent the wrong ones. There need to be 8 of them. And we got 4 in, we're still waiting for 4. The only 4 have been, all 8 of them are on order. They sent 4, now we're still waiting for 4 to go in. But that has nothing to do with TCEQ. It's just part of what we needed to do to get those updated. So that's still part of the project money that we're doing out of that. Number 8, the park committee would like to purchase tables for the park out of the proceeds from the grant. So they want to purchase 4, 5. How many, 4 cards?
Four.
Yeah, 4, which will total, 347606. The grant from TVEC was 353388, so there is money to purchase 4 more tables for them.
Make a motion, we let them purchase.
I'll second it.
So,
All in favor? David?
Favor?
Okay. We have a unanimous vote. Alright. Moving on. This is just an update on the offer to purchase property that we discussed. Mr. Santos, who wanted to buy the commercial property, was watching when we were online. And the next day, he said he didn't want to negotiate further and asked for his deposit back. The Affordable Acres people who wanted to buy the lots, we contacted them. They did not want to increase their bids, so both of them are out of line. Okay, let's get number 12 out of the way. We do not have any additional information on the Verizon proposal.
So we're tabling it
We
again.
would like, can we make a motion to table it?
We know we tabled something 3 times, so
This will be the
second.
second time.
I make a motion that we table the Verizon proposal for the office telephones and internet.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? David?
Favor?
Okay, so we will table that item. Okay, we have, the next item on here is volunteer fire department. You had requested that we put this on here. Do you want to start the discussion, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Let me go ahead.
Knock yourself.
Okay. In a continuing effort to find a way to support the fire department, for several months, I have been speaking to people in the city and in other cities, and also with Blake Armstrong, our city attorney. What he had indicated to me in February was that we could not make a donation to the Rollinsford Fire Department because it was against state statutes. I had asked him about putting a line item on the utility bill, but he said that would be considered a pass-through donation. That was one of the options that we have been looking at. So this is what, these are the notes that I took in February. That he had indicated me that because they were a separate 501c3 entity, that we could not make a donation to them. While they provide a public service, it's not providing a city government service, as it is not a city department. He said that we should not have a contract with them, that we cannot donate to them. And then he said, he said that we can add them as a line item on our budget and pay them from our ad valorem taxes. And then my note to myself was that we would have to see where we could trim our budget in order to add them, and then pass an amendment to the ordinance to revise the budget. I was anticipating that at our April meeting that we would,
They're already on the budget.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
sorry, good.
So-
Okay.
So last year, we put them on the budget. Not considering it, I guess, I don't know, I put it on there because it had never been on before, so as a placeholder kind of a thing, so we would be able to do that.
It had been on there before.
So, well, not on ones that I had, I mean, not recent, okay, not recent ones. So that we would be able to do that this year. So just trying to figure out how are we gonna do this? So now he's telling me that, no, we can't, that we couldn't put it on the utility bill. Be indirectly donating, so in our budget. My last communication to him was last week. And I just said, after we discussed the volunteer fire department, I tried to remember what you said. And if we're unable to fund them because they are a 501c3 and we're not able to make a donation to them, how is it possible to have them in our budget? Also, if we allow them to have free water, isn't that also donating to them? And his response was, we can provide a line item in our budget that essentially makes a donation to the volunteer fire department, which is totally what he told me we couldn't do. We can do this because the volunteer fire department services provide a public purpose. And Texas cities can't make donations of public funds or property unless a public purpose is being served by the entity receiving the donation. And the volunteer fire department would qualify in that regard. So I spoke with him on the phone and I said, and I read to him what I just read to you about my notes. And I said, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? And he said, yes, that's all true. However, and this is the first time that he even mentioned the words public purpose. So I apologize to everyone that I made an assumption about something that I guess, and not an assumption, my interpretation of what he said. I misinterpreted what he had to say. So we have the ability to redo our budget if we want to do it right now. We have, and I suggest if we want to do that we have a separate meeting to do that.
But they're already on the budget. Why do we have to do that when they're already?
Well,
We
we could,
already
I mean,
budgeted to
because we
give them
could,
the
I
money.
mean, we can disperse that $1,000. So we should not have a contract, because what's the contract going to say? That they're going to put out our fires, that they're going to answer. So he said, if we would not be contracting memorandum of understanding that they would provide the service. But what he said was, in my conversation with him, was that because, I mean, we're still making a donation, but it's the mechanism of how we're doing the donation. So we can't do like a pass-through donation, that if it's in our budget, then that's the mechanism that we can use. We can't do an outright donation. It's still called a
And I
donation.
don't like the word donation because we're not giving a donation. We're providing we're providing financial assistance for a public service.
Okay.
That's all we're doing.
I was just using his
No,
words. Yeah,
I'm
see?
not arguing with
No.
you. We're not making a donation to the fire department. We are paying for their service.
Right.
Or supplementing fire department And I didn't see it as a donation because we're paying, it's in our budget to pay this money to the fire department for services rendered. It's no different than aqua services or whatever we're doing with Jeremy.
Well, he did say if there is a difference. Because I
No,
said, why
he's
can't,
saying-
why,
He's saying there's no
Right.
difference, it's in the budget, so it's no difference to make that payment as we would make the payment for aqua services or
Right.
whatever. That's right,
Yes, ma'am, sorry.
that's what he's saying.
right, and that's.
Yes, there's a
true.
difference, but he's saying as far as the budget goes, it's in our budget, we should have made that payment. It's a payment just like anything else for services rendered.
Right. And we can do that now.
Because it had always been on the budget until the last Judy Bearden reign that I was on. And in order for her to make the budget balance, she took it out. That was the only reason it was taken. So up until then, it had always been in the budget to give them money. Long before this fire chief, or it's been in there for a long time. Well, I'm saying, way back.
Okay, so we've got the money in the budget and we're
We'll
perfectly
pay that
legal
thousand,
and we can pay it.
we will pay that $1,000.
And then we can get a memorandum of understanding between the fire department and the city.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
And we're not charging them for water, right?
No, we are not charging them for water. They received that bill and that has
Mama, you're
been,
taking everything offline.
and that is being, so that has been taken.
Why did you send the bill?
Just because of what I was told. That was,
Oh. It doesn't, the fire department is not part of the city.
Correct.
So in any big town, when the fire department is part of the city, they don't pay for the water, obviously. But fire department is filling up to put out somebody's fire, and it's almost like a dog chasing his tail because of trying to, the fire department should be charged for the water, but somebody's fire, and then how are you gonna go to that homeowner or that landowner and say, I used 38,000 gallons to put that fire out, so here's your water bill.
And I know just about every homeowner's insurance, they pay the fire, they give money to the fire department. From what my insurance reads anyways, so to help offset those costs.
So the way-
But, so, I mean, but I'm saying, so, you know, there shouldn't be any, we shouldn't be charging them anything.
So every car insurance and every homeowner's insurance has a clause in there where you pay a certain portion every month for a fire department or EMS personnel or actually technically police too, if they respond to that accident or that fire. But that fire department or that police department has to have a direct way of billing that insurance in order to get it. Most of these volunteer fire departments can't afford for some company to be able to bill that insurance to be able to get it. This year, whenever it was, they passed it, the whole county did it for the fire marshal association for all the fire departments to do. So this is the first year they've been able to start doing that. But that's what you're talking about. But my question is like, if you send a bill to the fire department from the middle of the night, if they're running 6 different agencies, how are you gonna, if you want to bill, like, you gonna send one bill to one fire department and Palm Springs, use 6 miles, off everybody would fill up the truck to do their dynamic? How would you account for the 6 different people if you would have wanted to continue to send bills?
Corey told me
They might. If they send Paint Springs to come fill up, and then Paint Springs may pump into Eustis, and Eustis may pump into Malakoff, and then Malakoff may be the one putting out the fire. How do you say, Paint Springs Fire Department, you're gonna put this bill?
So we don't charge anybody for water that they use to do a
For public
public, yes, that's.
for public purpose.
Okay, so can, on the water bill, can we add a line item that says, I would like to donate to the volunteer fire department? With a dollar sign and a blank. Or I would like to donate $3 to the volunteer fire department with a box that you check yes or no.
Can't go through the city.
Incorrect. The Public Utilities Commission says you can. And so
We're
Mark
not
City
under,
Attorney,
we're not under
so did Blake.
that.
As long as it's a voluntary purpose, and as long as the citizens know it's a voluntary purpose, and as long as citizens know that their water bill will not be cut off for that purpose, we can put it up as a line item on our water bill.
So I'm looking at chapter 24, substantial rules applicable to water and sewer service providers, customer service and protection. A billing by the utility that includes a voluntary contribution under this section must clearly state that the contribution is voluntary and that it is not required to be paid. I'm not supposed to do that. I mean, this is saying that,
So,
Yeah.
so you have something that I haven't read yet?
okay, I'll give it to you. I mean, and I did not mean that
No.
the way it came out. I'll give it to you. A utility may implement as part of its billing purpose a program under which the utility collects from its customers a voluntary contribution, including a voluntary membership or subscription on behalf of a volunteer fire department or an emergency medical service. I think that pretty much covers it good. But anyway, the last two paragraphs. I would like for that to be under consideration.
Okay. I will find out if we can get it on our small postcard.
There should be room, I think there is room on that, underneath the,
I guess we'll have to
because they added my trash
take
can
out
on there
what-
just fine.
take off the wood. All right, we'll see,
It's a
we'll,
joke.
okay. So we could put it as voluntary contribution.
I don't know if you can, you know, I'm not the only one that gets them, but like from the state troopers, please, we need your donations or something, and they'll have a box for $10 or 25 or 50, and then they'll have a line for others. So I don't know,
Because each card is printed out individually per person. So, we can get a list to Elisa of who wants to donate and how much, and then that can be added into her system to be printed on the card.
I was just gonna make it, I was just thinking it's all the
Every
way
time
across
you
the
pay
board.
water- Oh,
You
It's
okay.
all the way
can't-
across
you
the
can't do it
board.
just-
Okay. Well, I mean, you gotta put individualized numbers, not everybody's water bill is the same.
No, but if they put in, if they have to put in how much they're
So like
they're
the,
extra, I mean, if they're
So
gonna
like
pay
the
$10
800
extra, they're gonna add, then they add $10 and,
so just fire department donation, $10. Or, I mean, whatever we make it.
Citizens, when they pay their water bill.
But do they pay that, or do they, are you saying it comes out of what they owe on their water?
No, 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 no,
It
no.
is, it is
Okay.
on out. No.
No, no.
So like, say that-
Okay.
so like my water bill is $92.33, and I wanted to make it $10, I would.
Okay,
Right.
that's perfect.
right.
To the,
I just don't know if you can, and I don't know why you couldn't. I don't think you had, why would you have to have a set amount in there?
No, you just have a line,
I would like to
However-
volunteer this much to the volunteer fire department, or I would like to donate this much to the volunteer fire department, and leave it blank. And let people
And
do
then-
whatever they want to.
and then we
And
would
if they
still,
don't do anything,
but we would
no big
still,
deal.
but we would still have to have that disclaimer on there that,
It's for voluntary purposes and services
it
will
will,
not be affected.
we would have to have that disclaimer. But I will I will call Blake and make sure that we have the correct wording or whatever we need to do, if we do that. Okay,
And the city is not donating that money, it's from the city.
Right.
So we're not, that was,
Which I don't see a problem in doing it because it's a citizen's voice.
if we put it on as a line item on there, say like $10, that's called a flat tax, and you can't do a flat tax, so you can't do a flat tax. So that was what. But if we could do it this way, that'd be great. How are we gonna work that into our budget? We all need to be thinking about that before we start looking at
Work with her to the
This
budget.
next budget year?
the budget year, for the next week, or we can make an amendment if we wanted to
Oh,
start
are you
sooner
talking
than
about having a more,
changing
quit laughing at me,
changing the amount.
changing the amount
If we
that
wanted
we're
to
gonna,
change
okay,
the amount,
that's what you're referring to.
that's okay. And right now,
I'm
we
like, I thought we already agreed, it's already in the
no,
budget.
I know, that part's already in it, no. And all of this other stuff that I was just telling you was so that we could do that sooner than than the end of the budget year. So, and I know that we had talked about looking at the budget midway through the year, and we are at that point, and we are working on getting it to a point where we can look at it, but we need to have a special meeting to do that. We should not be taking the time to do that at a regular meeting. Okay, so do you want to make a motion, Mr. Allen, to put that line item on water bill on water bill?
okay, so I'll make a motion that we put a voluntary donation to the volunteer fire department set aside from the water bill.
I'll just put that.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
I'm abstaining. I have to
Um,
abstain.
Jessica has abstained. David, are you in favor?
Yes, in favor.
All right. All right, moving on. Ordinance 1E, which is the animal control ordinance. We added language on page 11 for the keeping of chicken hens. And while, I just wanted you to know that while I was looking for language about this, I just wanted to point out that the inclusion of chickens and rabbits in the prohibited animal part of the ordinance was put in February of 1988, when log cabin first became a city. It was not something that was added later by people who came from a different place and decided not to allow chickens. The vision of the founders of log cabin was one of a city, not a country subdivision. And I want to remind council members that we are passing laws for over 700 residents, not just for 3. Okay, so. I think,
And am I mistaken, was it 5 instead of 4?
Yeah, we agreed on 5.
you agree with that?
I did hear from a resident, a citizen, that she thought that no more than 2 was sufficient. So I told her I would pass that along to her.
I don't know how many eggs typically chickens lay.
One a day. A month.
How many?
One a day.
One a day.
Like Cajun show chickens, I have to do 2 a week. So So I did notice that you took out on the prohibited animals, the time frame for the raising of rabbits and chickens for the year, from it being from like August to May. I did see that you're taking that out. And I did go through and I did change some wording. And I made a copy of everything that I wanted to change. I'll give everybody, if you wanted to look at it, so you can compare it to it. So that way, and I'll explain why I want to change it to you. I have it on, is that, yes, and then I have it on Word, if that's one of the things that go with it, I can just send it to you, so you don't have to retype it or you have to retype it. So, I put 5, because that's what we had voted on, instead of 4. I only changed a little bit on mine, and y'all can, so, I don't think that we should tell people that they have to keep it at the back of their property, because, or at the backyard, because I don't have a backyard. And if you tell somebody to keep it 30 feet from their backyard or the rear of their yard, I think it was like 30 feet
That's
from the rear of their section. So instead, I had changed it to keeping it 30 feet from the front property line. That way, because you only have most are 100 feet deep and only 50 feet wide. Some of them are only 75 feet deep. So if you take away and make it to where it has to be at the back and so far from the back, and you have somebody else's house at the back of that property, you're making it to where then those chickens are so close to somebody else's house that may be at the rear of their property. So take out. Oh, there you go. Okay. David, is that you?
On this chicken.
I didn't change, instead of it being from the rear, I did it from 30 feet from the front property line.
Because I don't want people having their coops in the front yard where you're driving down the street and all you see is squeak chicken coops. So I think saying 30 feet from the front property line, because like a lot of mobile homes are in their long ways, so they don't have a backyard. I mean, so you, and
Yeah.
so I mean, I'm personally not gonna keep chickens. My concern is I didn't want it to be in the front, right in the front where everybody sees them driving down the road and see the rest of it.
And that was those are, and then I also, like it says on the one that we were provided from the city, no incubating of chickens on the property. To me, if somebody they can only buy 2 chickens and they want to buy 3 eggs and they want to incubate it, like who are we to say they can't incubate 3 more chickens for their maximum of 5? I think they should be able to incubate their chickens if they want to for their 5 or their 3 or their 2, whatever they want. I don't think we should be able to tell them they can't incubate their chicken.
And my only other concern is no selling of eggs.
And I put that
We're
on,
not supposed to be running businesses out of their home, but if we've got 25 residents and they're all selling eggs, and we're gonna have all this extra traffic, I mean, I don't think they should be able to sell their eggs. If they are truly wanting their chickens for them to have their own eggs, then that's what it needs to be for, rather than,
that, and if you get eggs and they're fresh eggs and you wait 2 months and then you try to sell them, you can have salmonella. So actually, I put that on there on number K, that no selling of fresh eggs on the last part of it too.
Okay, so we're adding,
Yeah, that's what it is.
so you're
On
adding a
K.
K.
Yeah, then no
And then the
selling of
next one
fresh
would
eggs.
be,
That's just, these are just my suggestions of what I
okay,
think
so,
would be
so you're
appropriate.
not asking to take the K off that's already on
No, what I did is I went off of this and amended this to these numbers. That way
you
you
took
have
off the
something.
incubation one, is
I
that
took
what
off
you're
the
saying?
incubation one, yeah. And then I amended instead of it being at the rear of the vehicle, rear of the property, that has to be at the rear of the property, that it can't be more within 30 feet of the front property line. it says, it has to be at the rear, but no more than 10 feet from, if somebody's house is at that rear, at that line, and it's right there at it, we just all the more issues for the citizens. We don't have to do it, but those are just my opinion.
Okay, so. C.
Jessica, this is a property line and somebody's house occurs at the back of that property line and the
Yeah.
road's in front. Where are they gonna put the chickens?
They can do it at the back right corner, as long as there's not, and it has to be 10 feet away from that back right area. They can be close if they want to, then, but I had changed it to 20 on mine, but, you could do it actually next to your own house if you want to. But my fear is if you put it at the back of the property, which it says on here, and that's actually somebody else's house, then you're doing it right next to somebody else's house.
I understand.
Unless it's the 30 feet, but then you're doing it, then you're having to do it all the way to the front property.
Even, even if the house is like that, because our. I mean,
This is not the scale.
No, I'm saying.
So that would
our
be, that would
backyard
be
is-
Jennifer's house.
Right, because I have a small fenced-in area that goes to the line from the back of the house. And so I would either do it, of course, I have 5 blocks in front, but I'm not gonna put it out. I don't know if I've driven in front of my house, you know where the bird bath is? I'm not gonna stick it there. I need it to be further back on the property.
Off the road.
Right,
Off
off
the
the
road.
road,
Okay,
and
that's
that's
all
what
I was
that's my concern, because I wouldn't want to drive through and see chicken coops right there off the road. That's not what people that wanna move here is gonna wanna see. So, my concern was when you say rear, it's very vague, and we could have more ground to stand on to keep them from putting it on the road and keep it further back.
So it's 30 feet off the road, and then 10 feet off of all of the property lines. So you have everything else around that for them to be there without it being a nuisance to your neighbors, if you do it that way.
Because I asked her how big her chicken coop was, and she said it was what, 5 chickens, I don't think, how many
We only have 4.
for the FFA. So that, I mean, even 5, it shouldn't be a whole lot bigger than that, because they're not allowed to free range them. So,
So educate me one more time. So how long do you keep those chickens?
All the time, year round.
For FFA or for personal use?
FFA?
FFA,
Until they-
you can show the same chickens at least 3 years in a row.
Okay.
My question is, because you're keeping those chickens and rabbits for such a long period of time, do they need to be registered with the city as pets?
I don't think so, because
I don't,
they may be like pets for supplements. So.
well, but you're getting into, this is a school deal. We have to pay so much money to take care of these animals and pay all these fees to show them.
Every show.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to charge, but if you want documentation, if you want us to fill out a permit saying,
That's,
Jennifer Williams has 2 rabbits, this is the breed, the color, and it's for FFA use, and I give you a copy of our FFA, that's fine, but I don't think that we
Well, I don't
should
think we
charge
should
people
charge-
for
I don't-
FFA and 4-H.
I don't think, well,
We have to pay
But
a
I-
membership every year to FFA for it.
And it's not cheap.
so, but if you gave us, I mean, how do we know?
Well, that's what I'm
How does
saying.
how does the city know that you're authorized to do that?
Well, I can give
So-
you the forms from FFA.
Right.
I mean,
So it would be a whole lot
FFA.
easier, if our code enforcement officer knew that a certain property had those,
Well, and Jason did because I had my sign out, I did everything he told me to. I know Jason's not here, but I'm saying that's what he said was required, was to have the sign posted on the enclosement saying these are for FFA, Eustis, FFA, whatever. So that, but I
I
mean,
was
we
never
can,
told to do that.
we can fill out a permit.
if the city, I'm just trying to think that if the city knew that you were doing that, then you wouldn't run into the problem of,
I mean, if we posted something on our building, and these are for FFA purposes, because anything else that's not FFA purposes, and if it's these keeping of pins, they have to have a permit. So anything other than that, we could.
And I don't mind filling out a permit and giving, and putting on there what we're raising for FFA and giving you a copy of our FFA.
because if you have, just for instance, if you said, I'm raising 2 rabbits, and then all of a sudden there's 4 rabbits there, you shouldn't be having 4 rabbits because you've only told us that you have 2. See what I mean?
Right, I mean, I don't,
I mean, I'm not trying to make it hard for anybody, but it's
Right, I
like,
mean, when we have breeding rabbits, but both of ours are female, but if we were to get a male, the whole point of breeding them is to breed them. So not to, but for show, I'm just saying, I don't have a problem filling, I'm saying we should not charge our FFA and 4-H students for,
no, that's not
we
what
can
I'm
have them write a permit and, I mean, have the parents fill out the permit and then give you the documentation, because when we fill out our FFA forms, it says on there where we have to refill out forms. So you'll have whatever documentation you want, we can get you for that. But to answer your original question, no, we don't need to charge the FFA and 4-H students.
No, I didn't.
They don't even
That was not,
Yeah,
that was
that's
not my-
actually what you said.
that was not my intent. Because you're keeping them for so long, and I didn't say pay for them, but register them. And I just want to say that the exception to have these animals was passed in 2008 with the understanding they would be kept to be shown at the Henderson County Fair and then would be sold or given away. And that's how that happened. And since these same animals are still being kept today, it means that the individuals who have them, kept them all this time and have been violating the ordinance as it stood. Correct thing would have been to approach the council again and ask for an amendment to keep these animals, since they're going to continue to keep the animals and continue to show them. I don't want
Did somebody write and
misunderstandings.
complain about that?
I don't want misunderstandings to come from people. So that's why I'm saying that I think it would be a good idea to register them, whether it be every year or whatever.
So,
But, I mean, have a permit to say that you can have these kinds of animals.
so first of all, no one ever said, including Jason, when I told him that they were only for Henderson County, because I would have been real quick to say, nobody was,
Well,
so I'm
I'm
just
just
saying.
saying what the ordinance said,
There
okay?
needed to be
What the
more
ordinance
education
said,
on what it
I'm not
needed to
saying
be.
what anybody else said, but what the ordinance said, there was violation of ordinance being done, and I don't want that to happen. That's why I just threw that out there. Okay. I haven't had a chance to. Okay, so we're changing.
I mean, we
What
don't
did
have
you
to change
take out?
anything.
What
This
did
is
you
just a-
take out?
So
You
it's-
said that a person could not incubate chicks.
I took out the person
took
about
that-
incubating chicks on his or her property. Because if they want 5 hens and they want to incubate them to get 5 hens, who are we to say that they can't incubate their own hens and raise them from chicks up to adults? And then sometimes.
They are taking the chicks, they're taking the eggs from their own chickens.
No, you
To
can
do that.
actually order the eggs to incubate. like
I mean, I
Cadence.
don't know how to,
No,
I don't know how to do
like
this, so.
Cadence chicken, show chickens, the ones, because we have a rooster that's a show rooster. We do not keep that here in the city because it is against ordinance. We keep that at my in-laws. It's a $45 chicken. If I wanted to get him more, $45 chicken. If we wanted to incubate him to have more for FFA, so I don't have to pay $45 a chicken and I won't pay $3.75 for an egg to incubate myself. And then house it at my house, or if it's a rooster, house it at my in-laws. Like, who are we to say that they can't do that, or the citizens can't do that themselves? I mean, we already have a limit on what they have. What does incubating chickens have anything to do with the limit that we already have? It's just my opinion.
Well, you can tell that. I didn't make these up, they came from
I'm
another,
learning
they
a
came
whole
from another
lot.
city.
We got cadence chickens, I think, in August or beginning of July. I'm learning a whole lot since then. And then, let's see, that one stayed the same.
And that's either one of y'all a question.
If it's chicken, it's me.
She's the
It's,
chicken lady.
FFA.
Okay.
So, do they give, and they probably don't. I'm thinking about all of this permitting and all this other stuff, and so, I don't know if, I mean, how much trouble is it to put a document on that chicken coop or rabbit?
Mine has it, mine already has it.
Okay, so if you've already got it on there, then whether they're being privately raised or FFA raised that question's gone, right?
If you're honest.
I understand that.
But yeah, I mean, it's not hard at all. It's just
Okay.
eliminated.
But, so we're not gonna charge you anything to do anything with your rabbits or your chickens if they're FFA. But are we talking about a permit if they're not?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, at the last
All
meeting, we said a $10 permit for
okay.
your 5.
All right. And so, isn't it as simple as putting your name on the list? They don't have to tell you, you don't have to say what you have, because it's in an ordinance. You have 2 rabbits and 5 chickens, that's all you can have. If you got any more than that, we're gonna fine you. Because, I don't know, somebody comes down and says, okay, I've got 4 chickens. Well, if they get another one, if he goes and he says, well, wait a minute, you got 5, you only said you had 4, or you said, I got 5 and then 2 of them die. I mean, who wants to keep up with that? I think it's a simple Excel or Word document of registered rabbit chicken people, or whatever you want to call it. And you just put your name on the list. And it doesn't make any difference what you have, because it's in the ordinance. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, I'm asking. I'm trying to keep that thing simple, because,
Oh, I agree. I mean, that's why having the sign on there, I mean, you know, I know there's dishonest people out there, but, I don't know many, I mean, I don't know. I'm annoyed with the fact that common sense tells you you have to have your rabbits raised more than just 1 month for a county show.
I was
I
a
mean, it's
person who was not.
the fact that I don't mind. I mean, I haven't ever hidden the fact that I have them. So, and I don't think there's any other people that have them in here. But something as simple as just doing that is fine with me. I mean, I have a sign on there, and I don't mind filling out another piece of paper if I have to. I don't mind bringing documentation, whatever we need to do. But I agree with keeping it simple.
that's,
Because all that is more work for B and Elisa to have to
That's
do
my
when
point.
they've already got a lot of
all they
work
have
to
to
do.
do is type your name on there.
I don't mind writing a permit or a certificate or fixing one up. I don't mind doing that for whatever to make it simple on them, but we just need to keep it, I agree, we need to keep it simple.
Well, it should be as simple as it's a boilerplate document that says that I will never have more than 2 rabbits or 5 chickens and yak, 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 and you sign it, make a copy, and you keep that copy.
It is simple, it's a simple thing, like building permit.
Yeah.
It's-
So, okay.
He's just saying have one across the board,
Yes, it would be just,
just, am I correct? And that's what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
something signed,
I
something
think-
signed by the resident that says, this is what I have this for. FFA.
No, he meant for the hens, not for the FFA ones, right?
No, I mean, for everybody, all the way across.
That's
the
what he's
board.
saying, across the board, one.
I will not-
Okay. For
I will
all-
not have more than 2 rabbits and 5 chickens in my possession at any one time.
How many rabbits?
And everybody across the board signs it. So if the code officer goes and says, hey, you got 3 chickens out there, yes, here's my document right here.
We didn't even have to go there because we would have documentation.
Okay, but
Because
But if somebody called in a complaint and they wanted to do a check-in, it's gonna be like, here it's on the.
I'm just saying, if
Yeah,
he's
we
driving
would have
around
that.
and he sees 5 chickens out there, if he happens to stop. But I think it's as simple as keeping a database on that computer of who is FFA and who is not FFA.
Correct.
It's simple as that.
Yes. Yes, we're not trying to.
I'm not trying to make this difficult.
We're not trying to make it difficult for anybody.
Okay.
Okay. Have you all had a chance to look at this document? So So Jessica, are you saying that we need to have that one, that last item, even though we say,
For the animal
for
control?
the, yeah, for the
No, it's already,
prohibited,
no, it's already been changed. Cause it used to say raising of rabbits or
Correct.
chickens and had to be only from August and
Right,
May every
right.
year.
and, but we had discussed about.
And we had
About
told
taking
taking it
that
out,
off.
which we did, so that is fine.
So we don't have to have that
No, I think if it says right here for FFA 4-H or school project, I don't think we need to say for school project because then, you know.
on. Well, but you told me that you're incubating chickens in your garage
No, it's in my.
or,
it's really right
or
there.
wherever.
But it's a science project, yes.
But as a
All right,
science
yeah.
project for school.
It is a science project, so, but that's raising of rabbits or chickens, it's just incubating them and they're being given away. So,
You're still having them on your property, so it would
So
be a project.
You
a school
changed,
project.
C is what you changed it to, right? This is what it was changed to, correct?
C was already there, except for at the end of it, it said raising rabbits
Right,
or
that's what I'm
chickens.
saying, that's the paragraph y'all are talking about.
That's what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
That's what it
Yes.
should say,
Yes,
yes. Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, so we don't have to have that other,
no, that's correct.
so we don't have to have that, we did.
Mhm.
All right,
Okay.
so. From. So F is the one that you changed, right?
I took out D. F is the one I changed from the rear of the yard to the 30 feet from the front property line.
Can we keep, could we keep the incubate in there and say a certain number?
And if you want to, but most incubators hold 41 eggs.
Are you
Some of them
Are you
hold
gonna,
12.
are you gonna incubate
Oh, I'm not.
41?
I mean,
I mean, if you're just raising them to replace a dead one, or because you got 4 roosters and you need 4 more eggs.
So you have to do them in a trio. You have to have at least 2 hens and a rooster when you show. And you can show there's Silky, and there's Silky
But you can only have 5
at my house, yes.
at your
But if I
house.
wanted to incubate them and take them to my mother-in-law's house and my father-in-law's house, where I had his other ones at, like, I just don't think we should be able to say you can't incubate these chickens. I mean, for personally, they know that they can't have more than 5. And say she wants to have 5 chickens, and he wants to have 5 chickens, and he wants to have 5 chickens, and my incubator holds 41 eggs. Why can't I incubate them there for free, and then they have their 5 chickens, and you have your 5 chickens? You just give them away. Yeah.
I don't know. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Well, you're only allowed 2 rabbits and 5 chickens.
Where'd you come up with 2 rabbits? Just you had two. Oh, okay.
You told me you had 2 rabbits.
I have 2, yes,
Okay,
okay.
so I
It
don't know.
wasn't in here, and
All right, so
This is only about hens.
I wanted to make sure because I wasn't aware of the
I'm
other
gonna,
thing.
I'm gonna leave the rabbits out of it. But you're only allowed to have 5 chickens. So the only problem that you would run into is if you had 41 eggs in your incubator and they all hatched and you had 41 chicks at your house, you got a problem.
Right. Normally, only a third of your eggs fly.
Something more than
If you have a
But-
third of them, you still have 1.
But I'm not keeping those chickens in my house. They belong to my farm and my mother.
I'm just,
So,
that's the only place that the incubate doesn't work,
right. You're right.
in my opinion. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. You're right.
But, and so that's when you get into somebody that's not doing it for the right reason.
Yes, sir, you're right.
They're gonna incubate 41, so they'll have 41 little chicks that they can take up the Tractor Supply and put the sawdust themselves.
I know what you're saying, yes.
So that's the only place that incubate
Mhm.
with clashes. But then again, it's like you can only have 5.
Correct.
Who in the world is doing?
I very rarely, I mean, I
Well, that's what
honestly
I'm saying.
don't think
I think
anybody
it's
is gonna
silly.
incubate
Try that
anyways.
in there.
Well, I mean,
Right, but
who's gonna stay up at night waiting for those eggs to hatch, so they make a phone call? I don't know, see, I mean, to me,
what is it?
We're getting into
Someone
splitting
has
some hairs
those
here.
others?
So,
You're not gonna be able, it's gonna be hard to enforce anyway.
well,
You
how are you gonna know? Unless
Go
you,
around checking all
unless
these.
you catch them in the act.
I don't vote.
I know, well, I'm trying to get somebody to talk some sense into me, because whether you, I mean, if you incubate more than, if you don't have any, and you incubate more than 5, then you're in trouble. But, so, saying that you can't incubate, you can say it, but who's to say that somebody won't do it? Because how are you gonna catch them? I'm spitting all this out because I
No,
want somebody
I agree.
to,
I mean, you're not gonna be able to enforce it. I mean, there are unfortunately some people out there, if they catch one, they'll report it, but very rarely is anybody, I don't think we're gonna have a problem with people incubating anyways, because most of them just want the eggs to eat. So, I mean, I think this is a moot point here, splitting hairs, I believe is what you just said,
yes,
so.
ma'am, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, I don't think we're gonna have a problem with all these people incubating eggs, because from what I've heard and read, the majority of the people want them to eat. So, whether we leave it in there or take it out, either way,
I think you gotta take it out. No, and the only reason I say that is, to her point, she has, or maybe not, if you've got 3 hens and you want 2 more, then you incubate them, instead of paying $45 for
Right.
a Rhode Island Red.
because bottom line, you still can only have 5, so. But yeah, I don't think incubating them is going to be a big issue in this city. I really don't. I mean, if that's really what we have to worry about, then we've got issues, because there's more important things out there. So I personally am fine with taking incubation out, and I do agree with it needing to be 30 feet from the front property line, from the street. It needs to be further back, but I think we need to set that distance to have a good rule of thumb, to kind of keep everybody protected. I mean, because what might be rear to you may not be rear to this person, it may not be rear to this person. So if we have a set distance, then we've got a rule of thumb. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Almost, except where do you live on the corner?
That's a good question.
Somebody asked me
No, I'm
that.
being serious.
There are
Live on the
people,
corner.
they
You live on a corner,
and
there's 2
they
streets,
sit
so you
and-
gotta be 30 by 30. Is that correct? And that,
Okay, well, can we just use common sense on that? And
yes, ma'am, I'm just asking.
But
But I
I'm
would say that,
saying-
you know, just.
the people that are gonna enforce it is what I'm referring to. I mean, I just don't wanna see a bunch of chicken coops right there by the mailboxes when I'm driving down the road. That's my biggest thing. That's the only thing. And not so much me, but people that wanna move in here. We are trying to make the city look nice, not crappy. So I'm just, that is my concern of, I just want it back enough that it's not an eyesore. So, I mean, if somebody lives on the corner, I don't know, we can take the 30 feet out, that's fine. I just,
You can leave it in there and just have it, or approved by the code enforcement officer.
yeah, I mean.
Well,
because-
it already says that,
They have to take a.
the permit, to obtain a permit, 1 or more photos of the completed enclosure and its placement on the property showing lot lines and distances from
Got it.
existing structures are required.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
So what we're doing is direction of exactly where it needs to be from whatever. The only thing I would change here, where it says, in F, where it says the front property line meets the imaginary line, that, instead of saying, that it needs to be not near the roadway. But it is,
So we could
it is
say 30 feet
actually
from
the
the
front property line, which is not the roadway. It's
The property line at the roadway.
It's not at the roadway.
So can
So
we say
people-
from the road?
No, because it's from your lot line, and those markers are not right at the road. They are back, just the property line.
The property line at the roadway. Because I would say at the roadway, because if not, then they're gonna say my property line is over here.
Well, then you'd say the front property line. The front property line. And that refers to the road.
So take out where it says near the roadway
Just
and intersects, just say the front property line and take that last
front
part out.
property line.
She's saying just. take this part
No, but was just the explanation of the meanings of where it was at. That should be the only thing I was trying.
That was the only,
And then I added the no selling of fresh eggs.
right, I like that. Okay, for those, with those changes. To this ordinance. Is there any other discussion about it?
If we beat that chicken, we better.
Yeah.
I said I didn't even eat a chicken after. Okay, I need a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the animal control ordinance with the section on having 5 chickens or less. And with these changes, I make a motion that we accept this ordinance.
Oh, second it.
All in favor?
Just taking my home phone.
David, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you accepting this as we changed it?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Benson.
All right. For 110 on noise. Instead of rewriting the ordinance, I talked to Blake Armstrong. He suggested that we might just want to consider relaxing some of the elements of the ordinance for the period of time that the kids are not in school. There's a clear definition of what noise disturbance is and the process for making a complaint. Nowhere in the ordinance does it prohibit students or anyone for that matter from playing their instruments anywhere in the city. What it does do means of creating noise disturbance that in the community. So on the third page, on the front side, where it says noise prohibited. Number one is clearly just says that any noise that renders the enjoyment of life or property uncomfortable or interferes with public peace and comfort. And then the other things that are under that are examples, and they went through a whole lot of unusual things to try and define what those were. And I know that you saw in here that it was, one of the things was musical instruments. So what we need to do when we're considering this ordinance is to consider all of the residents of Log Cabin. And if complaints about instruments being played were to become excessive, that's the time that we should consider changing the ordinance. Our citizens live close together here. We have had recent noise complaints about somebody booming their stereo in their truck. Right now, when we receive a complaint, we don't go and just issue a citation. We investigate. Our officers go and talk to the person about that a complaint has been lodged. I don't think, after reading the ordinance, I hadn't read it before we had our last meeting, but I have read the whole thing now. I don't think we need to change this ordinance. If it says anything that does not permit students to play their instruments, or anyone else for that matter, it does not say that. It just says that we cannot disturb our neighbors. The same thing, I think Jennifer had mentioned before, that somebody plays their radio or their stereo loud next door. She hasn't made a complaint about that because it doesn't disturb her.
I'm gonna ask one more time, Steve. So, I know that there's not a set time for each student to do their stuff, but is there a window,
So,
10 to 2, 9 to 5?
no, because different classes are, in conference at different times throughout the day and the week, and so it just depends.
Okay.
So there's not always a set time. But, so, it was a passionate subject I was very passionate about last week, and after reading this, it's not so much to me about just the instruments. It states you can't even walk down the road and listen. It's, to me, there's not a city that I have found that writes tickets or has issues during normal hours. If it's happening during quiet hours, I understand that. If it is truly affecting somebody's life, that's another thing. But for example, number 6 clearly states you can rev your engines, you can squeal your tires, and you can repair vehicles and motorcycles as long as it is not between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. So why should somebody walking down the road and whistling, if the couple down the road is screaming and cussing and fighting and arguing, that's one thing. But if you got kids out in the yard yelling and screaming, that's kids. So my issue is that I think that it should not be pinpointed to everything that we enjoy in our lives. Because who are you to tell me what I can do on my property in my yard? I want to open my windows and have my TV on. Well, I mean, it's the fact that too many people in here are nitpicking about things. And so that's my deal, is it's, to me, you're, when I read this, it's like, so we're supposed to sit in our houses and do nothing? I mean, that's my point. And I'm not saying that everybody's like that. I'm just saying that if it's really, 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 really affecting somebody's life, that's one thing. But if somebody is listening to the radio while they're outside doing yard work, I mean, it's just, that's my deal. To me, it's just, it's too specific, I guess is my word. So, and if somebody's bothered by somebody walking down the road and whistling, that's really sad. But if it's in here, but that's my point, because it has been brought to people's attention, it's going to be something that, well, it says it right there, they're not supposed to do that. So, anyway, that's, it's
It
just,
doesn't say that you cannot do it, it says if you are disturbing
so, but
somebody's peace, and no one, I can't think of anybody, if you were just going down the street and you were not standing outside their house and you were not, but if you did it, if you stood outside their house, I think they have a reason to
well,
complain.
if somebody is standing in the road in front of my house, gawking at me, that's one thing. I'm not talking about that.
I'm talking about noise, I'm talking about any kind of noise. If my dogs are barking at somebody and they're doing it excessively, then I think somebody ought to tell me about that. And that's the mechanism that we have.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree to go to the person and say, hey, you know, I'm sleeping during the day, can you keep your dogs quiet? You know, can you try to do that? But, I mean, I understand, I'm not trying, I just, I don't.
I think it's just
I
too
can't even put
specific
it-
and
Well,
very
then,
specific.
write me an ordinance that you think we should.
It's a no-win ordinance.
Right, it's a no-win ordinance.
You can't,
Like
because
chickens.
Yeah.
to your point about your dog, if I decide to go for a walk at 10 o'clock at night and I walk by your dog, they're gonna bark at me. So if I was that type of individual, I would report you. The guy walking down the street whistling, probably not bothering anybody, but if it's that type of individual that says, whoa, wait a minute, they will report it. When you talk about musical instruments, there's one about a 7 or 8-year-old kid taking music lessons and trying to get that done, and a 25. Is that ordinance?
The same
I could
like,
call you, I'm sorry, John, I could call every night about the kids at the park at 10 o'clock at night. I can do it every night, because I'm sitting on my back porch and I can hear everything they're saying. And they're 300, 400 foot away
the same lady that said, should only be 2 chickens, also said she didn't believe that, there should be any instrument playing outside. So, and I asked her if she had a complaint, if she just thought that that would be disturbing the peace. I said, well, if you have a complaint, let me know.
See, we haven't had any complaints about it.
Do you think I'm gonna let my kid play outside? I mean, that's the thing. The threats have already been put out there. But I honestly, it honestly is not just about the instrument. It's just about the way that this is worded. Because, I mean, it's just, everybody's just trying to live their lives. And we're supposed to not do what brings us joy, because it might upset somebody else. So, you know, and I mean, but
But I see I see it as not a problem until there's a complaint. It's not a problem until there's a complaint. And we don't have that many kinds of complaints here.
you're right, we don't.
We don't have that many kinds of complaints.
Right. But who's to stop somebody, and they have every right
And
to do
and
it,
they can make any complaint they want,
Let me
and it
finish what I
will
was
be
gonna say.
investigated.
who's to say?
But that doesn't mean you're gonna get cited.
No, that's, you don't even know what I'm fixing to say. Who's to say that somebody complains about, and this is an example because this is the only thing we have to go on right now. Somebody complains about one of the kids playing the horns. Well, he can't play his drums, he can't play his horn. I mean, they're right. If it's just, even though he doesn't have a choice because he has to do it for school, or she, or whoever, but it's, you're walking a fine line. So, I mean, it's a no-win, but that's just, I don't know. I
Are
just,
you saying we should have no noise ordinance?
but that is what this, I mean,
I don't think what she's
Pretty
saying,
much.
as I think that what she's saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to figure this out too, is saying she doesn't understand why there's a time limit for motorcycles and vehicles over here from 10 to 7 being quiet, but we don't have that same inclusion for the rest of the people.
for all the citizens to
So,
enjoy. And I'm
Is
not
that
talking,
what you're thinking?
I
So
mean,
why not make it to where your quiet time is from 10 p.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. for everything with leeway of, you know,
If something
obscene
is
radio language.
truly, if something is truly affecting somebody, that's one thing. But to have, to be able to do that, but that has a specific time, but everything else is not. And that was my biggest point on this when I read through it. And I thought, oh, so I can just sit out there and rev my engine all day and safe and call, but as long as it's not between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., then, so that was my point in the whole thing, that I feel like,
Okay,
I feel like there shouldn't be that there, I understand the quiet time of 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., but it shouldn't be quite so restricting during the day, during daylight hours. That was my point. Sorry, I took 3 hours to get through, but I'm done.
So, let me ask you a quick question. On part D, noise prohibited. If you just added noise prohibited between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. You don't have to change anything else, do you?
Right. Just quiet, noise prohibited, quiet time from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And we can make the exception truly, which I think it actually says interferes. I mean, if that's truly it, but, I mean, obviously what doesn't affect one person does affect another person. So, because from my understanding, and I don't know because I'm not on that street with the drums. I can, if it bases like it does, I do sympathize with that because of the car driving down the road that bases. So I do sympathize with it, but it doesn't affect everybody the same on that road. So, it's just like you said, it's a no-win ordinance to write, but I do think that it should say
10 p.m. to 7
7 a.m. is
for all
quiet
your-
time, and that,
so if we put that right next to D, noise prohibited,
From the hour that's 10 p.m. to
10 to 7 a.m. 10 p.m. to
And that's
7
straight
a.m.
across the board, not even
And
including
then-
the weekends. It's a curfew on the weekend.
midnight.
And stay straight across the board from 200 to 700.
So if we just added that,
That's all I was
add
saying.
D,
can
so
try.
that if somebody, I mean, if something is truly being disrespectful, I don't have a problem with that, I really don't, because I know there are people that can be truly, disrespectful to their neighbor, I understand that, so I'm not trying to take away from that. And I'm thinking of it as not just the city, but for the citizens, I'm a citizen in here too. And I'm not saying that I'm just, I
I
think that it
think you're
should say that.
saying it should be fair, not only this, but for everything.
Well,
You just
right.
want it to be well
I agree.
versed and
I
completely
agree,
fair
and-
for everything.
And under C is where they tried to do that. So on that previous page at the bottom,
Oh, yeah.
that's where they tried to do that.
I think if you added in that prohibited from 10 PM to 7 AM, it would reiterate this and the other part too. And I think it would be fair across the board.
Okay, so are we gonna leave this little box in over here that just kind of?
That's the
Yeah, so
only thing that I
decibels. Okay, so then I'm
suggest
gonna
we
put,
change.
so then we'll put noise prohibited, 10 PM to 7 AM, right next to where it says noise prohibited. And I'm just gonna take it out over here where it talks about the vehicles and the motorcycles. I'm just gonna take that part, that right out of there.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
it doesn't need to be there because it already says it over here.
Yes,
That sound good?
yes, ma'am.
So we're just moving words around out here.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion.
I make a motion that we move between the hours of 10 PM to 7 AM from 6 to D, so it would read noise prohibited from 10 PM to 7 AM the following day. And amending the ordinance 110 for the city of Log Cabin for the noise complaint.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? David?
In favor.
All right. I have no, we have done. Department reports. Chief Tucker,
Mayor report?
you have a report?
Yeah. That's what I've been waiting for all night. This quick and easy. We made one arrest, issued 59 citations, gave 8 verbal warnings. The total calls for service is skewed because the majority of those are just park patrols. We didn't have a lot of activity. It does show 1 burglary and 1 theft. However, those were actually one incident because it was a theft from a building and it somehow got counted twice. This is just a storage shed that someone did. Locked it out.
Thank you, Chief.
Jeremy's report for Public Works. They fixed 5 leaks. They cleaned and removed the old building by the maintenance barn that held extra water pipe. And they have measured and gone over line extension and flush valve project, wire earth with, Jennifer, do you have anything on community events?
Not at this time.
I do want to make the announcement that the citywide cleanup is still scheduled for May 15th and 16th. We have, the staff has discussed how we can conduct this even though, we are on, stay at home. We can still have cars come up, we can have them go in one at a time. Our people who will be helping will have gloves and masks. We think we can still do that.
Getting rid of trash is a necessity.
And getting rid, and everyone is asking when we're going to be having this, and I don't think we should disappoint them, because we don't need trash in people's yards. Okay.
Are you gonna have volunteers for help with that, or is it just gonna be clean?
We probably maybe asking people to put it out on the forum.
I have a kid who needs a volunteer hours, so
Oh, well,
not really
that's a good thing.
with the interest.
So do you know anybody else that might need those
I'll
kind of
ask
hours?
them.
Within one. Okay, citizen comments, Belinda, have you been making any, there have been no comments?
The only thing is, some people were having a little bit of trouble with the feed, but other than that.
Okay, with the feed, well, that's kind of good. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned.
Favor.
Okay, no,